Welcome back to the next episode of Inside of Her C-Suite. I'm Timothy Maurice. I'm really excited today because we have an under 30 who is driving leadership across the continent, across Africa and the Indian Ocean. Her name is Saadiyah Hendricks, and she is the PR manager for the Carlson Rezidor Group. Saadiyah, welcome to Inside of Her C-Suite.
Thanks, Timothy.
I'm excited for a lot of reasons, but let's start with you, at the core of who you are. When you were a young girl, you grew up in Cape Town?
I was born in Joburg.
Okay.
Doesn't count. I grew up in Cape Town. We moved when I was 6 months.
Okay.
People always tease me about it. But I need to say that I was born in Johannesburg.
I get it. No, I've got friends who grew up in New York. They were there for 2 days, but they claim New York. Growing up in Cape Town, were you encouraged to seek this level of leadership?
Not really. I mean, every little girl has an aspiration to, you know, dream big and hopefully get there before the kids start rolling in.
Sure.
But I think my parents are actually the ones that kind of pushed me since day one. Always trying to motivate me to better myself. So I think it's really the household that kind of brought it on.
But you felt like you had choices.
Definitely. Actually, it's very strange. I've always had a love for baking. So I actually never knew what I wanted to study up until matric. I always wanted to open up a coffee shop. I had this dream of, you know, relaxing and baking in the morning and someone coming into the coffee shop every day saying, Saadiyah, I want the usual, please. That's like the little heartwarming thing that I always grew up thinking I was going to do. And then one day someone told me, you talk a lot. Why don't you make a career out of it? Study PR. I had no idea what it was. Applied, accepted, and then got into it, and wow. Almost turned back during my studies because the curriculum is nothing like the industry. But I'm glad I stuck through it.
You've fast-tracked through this relating with public career. And, you know, even off camera, I can see you have a natural knack. Do you think that getting to this level, some of it has to be natural? I mean, obviously you've studied, you've learned, but do you feel like being able to thrive, some of it has to be instinctual? Completely,
especially in PR. I mean, it's not a theory-based industry. Everything that I've learned on the job. And I mean, even when we get people coming into job shadow and so on, you need to have confidence. You need to be able to converse with people very easily. You need to have the confidence to be able to take rejection. So when you're chatting to journalists and you're so passionate about your story and your angle, and they tell you, I'm sorry, but that's not going to work for me, you can't take things personally. You kind of just need to thrive and keep on going. So I do agree with you. I think it definitely needs to come instinctual.
Did you always think of yourself as a person who traveled the world? Like, you know, African and Indian Ocean is a big region from Seychelles to all over, and you just got back from Rwanda. Did you see yourself traveling the world, and are you enjoying it?
When I thought of traveling the world, I thought it would be with my family on vacation. I never knew that it would be such a big part of my career. My career was always in PR agencies before I joined Carlson Rezidor, and with that, I mean, you're kind of like the third party, so you're not the one traveling if it's covering different cities. But joining, I mean, I've been to, I think it's seven cities, and it's all across Europe, Africa as well, since joining in January. So it's been a whirlwind. It's been wonderful being able to see different cultures, although it's on a work basis, but it's still been amazing. Yeah. Yes.
Are your friends jealous?
A few of my friends travel for their careers, but I'm sure the others probably are. But at least I'm able to give them advice and say, hey, you need to get yourself to Nairobi. And actually, you mentioned that I was in Rwanda. So my father Googled Kigali, and he immediately told me, Saadiyah, don't leave your hotel room, because obviously genocide comes up very strongly when you search Kigali and Rwanda. And Kigali is actually the safest city in Africa and the 9th safest city in the world. So it's phenomenal.
You've chosen your career, I mean, if we look at even Carlson Rezidor, it is a brand with swag. You know it around the world. There's sort of a sex appeal around the brand. But even other brands you work with, from Marcus Bruce's, getting to this point in your career, you've chosen brands that have what we call a sort of a high intensity to them, a bit of a swag. Have you done that on purpose?
I was lucky enough to work for PR agencies that had great clients. So, I mean, one notable one is with Magna Carta, which was the previous PR agency I was with. I handled the Adidas performance account. And oh my gosh, I mean, you're rolling from one campaign to the next. You're dealing with people like Wade van die Kerk. It's all a lot of adrenaline, and it is fun, especially in the PR world. If you're working on big campaigns, that's what keeps you going, or else things become monotonous. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I actually pursued the profession in PR, was because no day would be the same. When
you were a kid, did you struggle with confidence issues? And if so, when did you become confident enough to represent a brand like this?
I think growing up, probably in my very little days, I think I was a little bit shy, but I very quickly came out of it, just because I have two brothers. I'm the youngest of three siblings, the only girl. So you can imagine I got mommy and daddy's attention, and I think that's where the confidence came in.
So they were tough on you. They were like, no, you're going to do this.
Yes,
you're going to step up.
Yes.
You're going to, okay.
My father's also very protective, because I am the only girl and the youngest. But in that way, it's still, I mean, I was sheltered in some way, but still pushed to really exceed.
And at this level now, do you ever have moments where you have to really speak to yourself to really get yourself up, or does confidence come natural?
I think probably like most people, you have your good days and your bad. I am someone who probably takes things a little bit, because I'm passionate about what I do. So if things aren't going my way, it does get me a little bit down, but I am a naturally bubbly person. I love to surround myself with positive people. So, I mean, if I'm in a slump, it's not for too long.
Got it. At this stage of your career, I mean, you have arrived at a level that most people dream of at your age. What are some of the next steps? What are some of your hopes for your career by the time you are 40?
Wow, I think by the time I'm 40, I mean, I hope to progress in this career with Carlson Rezidor. There's so much, I mean, the group offers you so many opportunities. The PR manager is definitely not the ceiling for me in the company. And because there's so many different departments in hospitality to pursue and look into, such as brand, even marketing, just broadening the scope, I definitely want to delve into that a bit more, get onto the digital side much more than just the usual online for PR, but real digital marketing, get into that space as well, progress and broaden my horizon. But then also eventually to probably do PR in my own capacity. So even if it's as a freelancer, because I do have 2 kids, so for now, but I really do want to have that balance by the time I'm 40, to be able to spend a half day with my kids, and then obviously still be that working mother that they can look up to.
The PR space has been turned upside down over the last few years, and so many things have changed even since you started in your career. What are you enjoying about where PR is now at the moment?
What I'm enjoying is the fact that it's not traditional. So, I mean, we're taking influencer marketing so much more serious these days, and it's phenomenal. I mean, it's not just your usual traditional media outlets like your Cosmos and so on that we're gravitating towards. It's your next big blogger or Instagrammer that really has that credible influence on your target market, and you can work so much more I don't know, just much more closer and collaboratively with individuals. So I'm really loving that part of it. So PR obviously is about building relationships, and when you can build it one-on-one with someone, it's phenomenal what you can do.
And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Which is one of your favorite parts across the continent, across the African and Indian Ocean so far? What do you love about, which area do you love the most?
Wow. I've had the privilege of delving into a few, but I think definitely East Africa. It's so much fun. We actually, you start thinking the further north you go into Africa, the less progressive they are. And it's such a flip side to that. I mean, Nairobi is booming. It's not like your Lagos or Sierra Leone where you need to brown paper bag to get some PR coverage. But definitely I think East Africa is where it's going.
And, you know, part of this conversation around leading in the PR space is being ahead of the curve. How do you challenge yourself to stay ahead of the curve? Like, do you have mentors, or what process do you go through?
I am lucky enough to have mentors. So we have our VP of Comms, Denu Snehi, who is a female. So a very strong woman who's based in Brussels. And we're part of a strong group of PR leaders for EMEA. So different parts of Europe have a different PR lead, and Middle East as well, and then obviously myself for Africa. And when we get together, it's amazing. The case studies we go through, it's sharing constant ideas of what's working in Europe at the moment, what's working in Dubai, and being able to adapt it and see how we can localize it for our African market. And that's been amazing.
You know, you've invited us here into one of your properties in the Radisson in Johannesburg, Sandton. You've got a great rooftop. I want to ask you a couple questions on the rooftop. Can we do that?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Let's do it. So being on top of your property here in Johannesburg, you realize the magnitude of the responsibility you have in your career. For a young woman who wants to get to this level, give me a couple of things, 2 things that you think she should be thinking about.
Okay, my first piece of advice, I'd definitely say push yourself and don't be afraid to go further than what you've dreamt of. I mean, when I started out, coffee shop was the end goal, but I mean, who would have thought I would have been PR manager, and who knows what comes in the next 5 years. So push yourself and keep pushing yourself. The second one, I definitely say don't listen to the noise. People have opinions of what women need to be in society, and as you know, that differs from city to city. Don't listen to it. I think if you want to excel in your career and really go far and balance it out with being a mother, you definitely can. You don't need to be one or the other. You can be multiple brands for yourself.
Wow. Thanks for not listening to the noise and getting this far in your life.
Thanks for joining me on the rooftop.
Awesome. Join us next week as we go inside of the C-suite of another extraordinary woman who is shaping the future of Africa and the Indian Ocean, the entire region. We'll be back next week.